Hello and welcome along to this week's edition of Off the Brawl on Off the Ball. I'm Ronan Mullen, joined by Phil, Simon and Andy Lee, who's fresh from an all-nighter in BT Towers. Is the sleep pattern back to normal?
Still feeling it, no. Long weekend, I don't want to go into it, but...
Game of Thrones in there as well.
Game of Thrones, a ferry journey across the Irish Sea, then a trip to Limerick in between, driving back and forth. I've done my mileage, but I'm here.
And did you enjoy the analysis? Did you enjoy the fights?
I enjoyed the company of, Paul Dempsey and Richie Woodall and Ben Davison. The knowledgeable bunch, you know, and good stuff even off camera, you know, just chatting away and sharing stories with Ben Davison because we did know a lot of the same people. And Paul Dempsey's a class act, isn't he? You know, he's, to me, he's the best. The thing I really like about he's presenting is that he brings a sense of occasion. But like, cause this is serious business, you know. It's a serious business what we're doing. It's not all like, hey, you know, you know. It's just, this is a serious game, and he brings that kind of, elevates it, you know. And I really like his work. Yeah, because like Anna Woolhouse does a great job on Sky, and then Ed Robinson as well was doing some good stuff. But Paul Dempsey always brings to mind those classics. My first memories, like
me too,
Naz and Lennox Lewis and all these guys.
And he hasn't changed. I don't know what he's doing, but he looks the exact same. And a real nice man, and I enjoyed his company.
Yeah, and the big fight overnight this time was Terence Crawford against Amir Khan. Although the result was as expected, the ending was rather less so. Here's what the fighter themselves made of that bizarre ending.
I would never quit. I'd rather get knocked out. You know, I'm one of them fighters. I'd rather get knocked out, and in fights, I have been knocked out because I've tried to win fights.
You didn't quit? Tell the truth.
No, I didn't quit. Bro.
So what happened?
Quit. I'm telling you, I never quit.
What happened?
I mean, I think I was hit with a low shot.
I'm asking you what happened.
I was hit with a low shot, man. I was hit with a very low shot.
In your leg? You quit with a shot in your leg?
In the leg, it was in the balls. I mean, look, I'm not seeing the video or the clip of it, but it was a logo. I mean, I got the picture.
It was low. You know what I mean? It probably was low. You know.
I mean, look. Okay, look.
All right, but calm down.
But you know what?
Y'all didn't feel the punch.
Fine, if you guys think I quit, no problem. I'm never quit from a fight, but no, 100%. Look, he's a great fighter. He beat me tonight, and we just have to move on from here.
So Khan and Crawford there with some skewing perceptions of what went down in Madison Square Garden towards the end. The consensus seems to be, Andy, that he quit, and it was quite raw for you at the time. You just watched it, and but having with fresh eyes now looking back, what's your whole take on the ending there?
Nobody wants, like, you have to give him the benefit of the doubt. But he quit. I'm sorry, but like that's the way it doesn't look good. And the change in the story every time someone asked him, as the night wore on, and I was listening to different interviews he was doing, and by the next day he wasn't the one who said he wanted out. Where you're watching the fight, and he clearly says, and directly after he says, I told the referee I couldn't continue. He says he signals to Virgil Hunter that I can't continue, even though the referee says, you can hear audibly, you have 5 minutes. He said, no, I'm out. Now, that would be fair enough if he felt that, look, the blow was so deliberate, like whatever, that he couldn't continue after it. Like that, he might have been able to continue, but he wouldn't be able to box at the same level or perform to his best. Then there's an argument for saying, look, I can't continue. But he should just own up and say that, you know. But I think you're in that moment, you know, your blood is pumping, everything's going on, there's noise everywhere, and you're taking serious hard punches. It's very hard to have all and he was dropped pretty heavy and hurt in the first round, so his senses are not all there. And I don't know, halfway through the fight he was complaining with his elbow. I wonder if, like, some sign, and then he said that his elbow was fine. And now he said that he's had injuries, issues with his elbow as the fight went on, but I was wondering if that, signalling that during the fight, was that the first signs of that he was looking for a way out?
It was around the third or fourth round, wasn't it?
Look, you have to give him the benefit of the doubt, and I said it on BT Sports that when I hear to judge his character, I hear to judge him as a boxer. But sometimes those are hard lines, you know, those lines blur a lot of times, because they usually go hand in hand. I don't know, what were your thoughts? Like, I'm going to pass it out to you guys. I'm more or less, like Richie, I think Richie Woodall on the commentary said it perfectly in the studio. He just said, look, he didn't come out and slay them. He just said, people will draw their own conclusions. Everyone can see what happened. And that's it, you know. Like, I think there was an appetite for us to slay them, you know. They wanted us to slay them, but you can't do it. Why? You know, why? Just for clicks, for views, you know. It's just, this is a man who's given a lot to boxing and all that he's done, and great entertainment of fights, and I think you just allow him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, I think.
But I think he knows. He knows.
Yeah, like watching the fight, you know, you realise how good Crawford is. We knew that anyway, but it just kind of hits home that he's as good as we think he is. Amir Khan, in previous fights which he's lost, he has won rounds, but then he gets knocked out spectacularly. That didn't happen. Like I felt watching Khan against Vargas, the signs were there that, you know, the timeout, this was a fight too far for him, and I don't know where he goes from here. He can still get more paydays if he wants. Kell Brook was at the fight.
You can't be a professional boxer and only train when there's a fight coming up, have a 12 to 8 week camp, because in the 3 or 4 months you've been out in between them fights, even more in his case, you're losing everything that you have to start from scratch and build up. You're not building on anything, you're almost starting like from scratch. Of course there's some muscle memory there and you know the game, but in terms of your coordination and your conditioning and everything, and your punch resistance, all that just disappears. Yeah. And you're not like, to be a professional boxer, you have to be professional and be full time. Even when you're not fighting, be in the gym at least 2-3 days a week and just be ticking over. But it seemed like he hasn't done that in the past. And
there was a 2-year spell between the Canelo fight and the Greco fight where he didn't, as you said, did no training of any real merit during that period. I would be loath to criticise him because of, as you said, his past, and he's never say die ethic he's always had in his career. But in previous fights, like against Danny Garcia, he was hit low in that fight and just brushed it off and got on with it, because he probably thought in his own mind, I'm the superior boxer here and I'm gonna, skill's gonna win out.
I think he might have thought it's gonna go to no contest. Yeah. I'm not sure if he's aware of the rules.
It's 4th round out, no?
Yeah, but it wasn't that intentional. It wasn't intentional. It wasn't
well, like, no count. Yeah.
I thought he might have thought, oh, this is going to get through out here,
the fact that he didn't take 5 minutes.
And he said, the ref told him, and he said, yeah, I don't want.
No one takes the 5 minutes though, did he?
No.
Never. Like, even it kills the buzz, doesn't it?
You should 100% take the 5 minutes.
Ronan.
Lean up against the ropes and just count it down, and just frustrate everyone. But before the low blow, it was only going to end one way anyway.
But the difference is, it wasn't a size issue or a strength issue. He was just being outboxed for the first time in his career.
He kind of denied Crawford a little bit as well. Kind of took away from his win, didn't he? Shine.
Yeah.
Because he was only going to go on. It was only going to go one way, that fight, wasn't it? And he was totally in control, even though it wasn't as clean. And Khan was landing some shots, but there was real kind of awkward and obviously shots where he was running in with 4 and 5 punches. That you don't expect, so
to say Khan was competitive would probably be a bit of a misnomer, because he did win a round on 2 judges' scorecards, the second and the third, so that would suggest he was nip and tuck in at least some of the rounds, but there were definitely gears there for Crawford. Like, if he was
warming up.
If he needed to raise it, he would have.
And you almost kind of sensed that he didn't get the fight he wanted last time out against Benavidez. And he was kind of, you could think, he kind of looked like he was hoping he'd get into the championship rounds with Khan and then maybe stop the fight. But he looked superb. He looked absolutely superb.
But also, when you knock someone down in the first round, you probably think this is going to be easy. And his corner did say to him, will you stop looking for the big shot?
He was loading up, yeah. I really enjoyed the corner work. And
did you see the corner, the in-fight stuff?
No.
With his corner, ESPN interviewed him during the 4th round.
Oh, really, yeah?
He started giving shout-outs. Brian McIntyre, Mac as he's known, and he started giving shout-outs to Omaha, and then they said, what about Amir Khan's speed? And he said, Khan's speed ain't shit. It ain't shit. And then ESPN
that's their attitude. Like they could be in with like the best technical boxer in the world, and they're like, yeah, shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's that fighter's attitude that they have, and there's an ignorance to it, then there's a confidence and a cockiness to it.
It's a throwback, isn't it?
It all goes hand in hand. Like they don't care. Like they just walk in, and they could be eating like a McDonald's for their lunch and fighting for a world champion that night. Like they'll just be like, this ain't shit. I'm walking in here and I'm smashing this fella up. You know what I mean? I'm from the streets. You know what I mean? That's it. And this, like, what goes on in the ring ain't shit compared to what they've gone through in life and what they've seen. You know what I mean? So they just, that's the way it was in Detroit. Like, you know, they wouldn't care who was turning up at the gym before he was world champion or whoever he was. It was just like, you ain't shit. You know what I mean? And it's great. It's a great attitude to have.
Yeah. And I'd say Khan's hand speed probably is still there, but there's no interlink with his feet anymore. So he's doing hands that,
and it's
stuff with his hands that his feet can't even.
Panic. He's not trusting himself in the same. It's a panic, like that he wants to get off so fast and not get hit. That he's leaving things behind. Like he's leaving his feet behind certainly, but he's like his technique is going out the window because he just wants to get those punches off. But it's rooted in panic, you know.
And what once was caution in the first round before he got knocked down quickly turned into panic. So he was fighting Crawford's fight the entire time. Like ordinarily, Khan in his prime would have been imposing his fight on.
He started off well. There were some signs that they had a plan, that he wasn't going to hold his feet, that he was just going to upset Crawford's rhythm and step back and because we'd always said he has to be, like we said before going into the fight, he has to be disciplined, he has to not be greedy.
And then you're watching the first round and you're thinking.
And then it just happened, after a minute or so, he was just falling back into his usual vein.
It was kind of similar to the Mikey Garcia Spence fight, where you're trying to find a way for the underdog to win, and you're almost overlooking the skills of the favourite.
Yeah.
Like everyone underestimated. Everyone's like, if Khan goes in there and boxes well, he can outbox Crawford. Like putting to one side the fact that Crawford's one of the most supreme boxers on the planet at the moment. So his boxing skills were underestimated, I felt, and he wanted to make a point, so he stood there, outboxed him, outstrengthed him, and it was just a conclusive win. Just didn't get the conclusive finish.
Yeah, I think you can see even afterwards he was like, just say you quit so I can have that I made you quit. And Khan was like, no, I didn't quit. He's like, oh, for God's sake.
Just quickly on the actual illegal shot, Andy, it didn't hit the bullseye, as it were, but are those debilitating shots anyway, like anywhere below the belt?
We're all men and we've all had, at some stage football or, some little cheeky lad give you a little kick or a little flick. And, it does hurt, but you can usually recover, can't you?
You should do it now, you should demonstrate who can take it.
But, I actually wasn't to me it wasn't Crawford's fault. When your head is being pulled down and you're in the midst of throwing a punch, the trajectory has always changed. And you'll see it time and again in fights when someone's pulling the head down that they will themselves get hit low.
And Khan never gets called on that, so it's about time he
did get done in the Peterson fight, wasn't it? That was it, but that was,
That was pushing lads in the face, though, wasn't it?
Oh, but one of them, he was holding him down. He just doesn't.
He's always been awkward in terms of
panic when it comes close. Yeah,
I think McCluskey got caught against him.
Barrera,
so he's always had. And when he was rushing in the other night, that's what you're thinking. Just get out of the way because his head is coming straight for you.
Yeah, right hook, left hook, head combo.
Yeah.
We asked you last week how good Lomachenko is, Andy, and similar, Crawford is getting lauded now. Max Kellerman said the best switch hitter since Marvin Hagler, so that's the kind of rarefied air he's in.
Yeah, he's probably better than Hagler at it because it's so seamless, isn't it?
Yeah, you can go into
when Hagler did it, it was a real whoa, what's he doing? He's not fighting as a southpaw.
Yeah.
But when Crawford does it so naturally that it's not even you just accept it now.
But Crawford will throw a punch and then come out of that exchange in a different stance. You're like, what even happened there? Yeah. And apparently, I think Mike Costello pointed it out that he'll always start the fight mirroring what the opposition is doing, and then he'll mix it up as he goes along. So
yeah, I think that's I've always given you a hard time about where he ranked in the pound for pound list. I think that really, for me, that performance kind of solidified what you've been saying for the last 8-9 months, that he was superb, absolutely superb. And I would now fancy him. Well, let's not go too far. I'd probably fancy him against Spence now.
Yeah,
it's never going to happen.
They're 1A and 1B. It's not even Lomachenko and himself. It's
yeah. Because he's got Lomachenko, but I'd say him and Canelo is a toss-up. To me, it's a toss-up. You don't like Canelo, I know. It's questionable what he's doing.
Just because I think Lara beat him, and even though I thought he won the Golovkin fight, it wasn't as if he was
Which one?
Conclusive winner, second one. So if Canelo beats Jacobs, then his resume is up. Like, you can't really argue with it then.
Find out soon.
We'll save that one for next week.
Sticking to hypotheticals before we get into the real stuff, Phil just mentioned it, Spence against Crawford. It's not going to happen.
There's been a little few, I think Bob Abrams said that
50-50 split, share the TV networks.
Yeah.
But he's weak in his position straight away.
But he would say that because
he's got no one else.
Who's Crawford going to fight next?
No, you can see we're waiting for
Kell Brook?
No, Keith Thurman is still waiting.
They're on PBC.
They're all on. That's what I mean for Spence. It's Spence, Thurman.
Spence and Potter has just been made, apparently.
Yeah, so that's this July 20th is Thurman against Pacquiao. And then it's going to be Spence with Porter to unify those belts.
You'd imagine the two winners would fight each other.
Yeah, and then
brilliant.
The only way we can force... We can probably force the issue once Spence has 3 belts and Crawford has 1, then it's a natural, it's an undisputed fight. It's probably the only time there'll be enough money and demand to make it that cross-platform fight.
Well, they're only hitting 350 in the pay-per-views at the moment. I don't know, we're waiting for the Crawford numbers to come in, but that's roughly where they're at, and that's not really a 2 networks cutting on board, splitting the revenue kind of stuff at the moment.
Whoever beats Manny Pacquiao, that's a star-making performance for them, because Pacquiao is still drawing big numbers, so whoever's lucky enough to cash that ticket is going to be the next big pay-per-view star, and then, it's all going to build from there, I think. Because there's no outstanding pay-per-view fighter at the moment. Deontay Wilder's only fought once on pay-per-view in America.
Canelo.
Well, he's on his own now, so it's not really pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So, if Spence and Crawford did happen, Andy, would you favour Crawford?
Spence and Crawford, it's a toss-up. It really is a toss-up. Crawford has more aspects, I think. He's more adaptable. He can adjust more. Whereas Spence, you're looking at come forward, very accomplished box puncher in the southpaw stance, and he's going to be methodical. He's going to walk you down. He can box going backwards, but more than likely he's going to walk forward and try and dig you hard. With a high level of skill behind it. Crawford can do a lot more. He can mix it up. He can. We've talked about him switch hitting. He's kind of fluid. He can box going backward, box forward. He's a great counter puncher. But it's very hard to split them, isn't it? I don't know.
Spence is a lot bigger as well.
Yeah. Well, he's grown into the weight. With each fight, he'll be getting bigger.
I think Crawford could find more ways to win that fight than Spence, and that's why I'm favouring Crawford now.
Yeah. Phil, what do you think?
I'd be looking at. I wonder about the power of Spence. Would it be too much? Crawford's the better boxer. There's no doubt about it.
Crawford has been hurt in the past, but it does seem like this is his natural way, rather than he's. Like, it speaks to his pound-for-pound credentials. Like, when Floyd Mayweather was at super feather and lightweight, he was dominating guys, and then he was kind of playing a bit more safe when he got to welterweight, where it's the opposite with Crawford, where he's kind of planting his feet and getting stuck in.
Yeah.
So
that'll be brilliant, though. It will happen.
Yeah.
But Crawford's the older fighter, so the longer it goes, a bit like the Canelo and Triple G, if it just stretches out another couple of years, then it becomes more of an advantage for Errol Spence.
Yeah, and Al Heyman is in no mood to be doing Bob Arum any favours, ever. So the longer they can put Crawford up the long finger, and they have their own little quarter or semi-final welterweight contest, and they're legitimate fights. I know we want to see Crawford Spence, but they're legitimate fights.
Absolutely, yeah.
So nobody's going to be complaining. I'm certainly not.
And just the last word on Amir Khan. He says he's going to continue. Is he finished at world level, or is there a fight there for him? Danny Garcia had a good win at the weekend.
Nobody wants to see it, do you?
Could you not build that?
Like Khan said himself, I'll always get world title fights, and he's right, because of what he's done in the past. He will get world title fights because people will look at him and think, yeah, there's a name, and they'll be confident they can beat him. So probably will get more world title fights, but I don't think he should. As in, I think he's had a really good career, and maybe it's just time to call it a day, because he could end up getting a savage beaten off someone. Like, it could be a nasty finish. Like, it's happened to him before.
Yeah. We were talking about pound for pound there, and two guys who'll be hoping to get there in the next couple of years, Teofimo Lopez and Shakur Stevenson, both fought at the weekend. What did we make of it?
Oh my God, Lopez. He's not very likeable, is he? He was at the Lomachenko fight the week before, and ESPN did a thing with him after the fight, and he had turned up to the Crawley Lomachenko fight, but he didn't watch the fight. He was there. The equivalent of us sitting in the studio and the fight's on, and he was just on his phone. He wasn't even looking. But he wanted people to know that he was there to look at Lomachenko. Lomachenko laughed him off. He's definitely going to be a star because he's got knockout power. whether you like him or not, you're going to watch his fights. Because if you don't like him, you're going to watch him to see him get beat. You're going to think...
He's a good kid, he's a good puncher, but he's not nowhere near that level yet. He's not ready for that. He's got very slow feet, heavy feet.
Because you see his celebration.
Hands. From the waist up, he's very good.
Yeah.
From the waist down, he's pretty average. And that's something he'll have to improve on if he wants to step up.
What about his behind the back punch? Did it again?
Yeah, it's okay. It's good.
But he's talking about wanting to fight Lomachenko now.
Yeah.
It'd be ridiculous.
It's just another in-house fight. Again, Lomachenko doesn't have bundles and bundles of opponents, so they probably will want to speed him through. Shakur Stevenson is someone who won't be sped through. Andre Ward's going to mind him.
Jeez, you could have done with minding him last year.
Yeah, well, this is true.
That's something that's coming up in the next few months. Like, he's got a court hearing. It was in, like, watching those two fights. So these are the two top ranker, looking at these two as the future. You have Stevenson, who's the better boxer, but doesn't have the power. You have Lopez, who has the power. You know the way we were talking about southpaws and their feet? He was standing on his feet the whole time.
Well, yeah, it was more.
But he was doing it on purpose.
Yeah, his opponent, wasn't it? You know, it was more his opponent, Diaz. But he's a good fighter, though.
Diaz,
yeah, you know, it was
the job.
That was a test. You know, they put him in there. That was a good test for him, and I wouldn't be worried about not knocking him out because he's a serious fighter, and it's very early in Stevenson's career. And I think he's going to get better and better and better and better. He's still fighting a little bit in his amateur style, but you can see there's definite signs of him becoming a serious pro when he stood inside and fought. Like he's got to be a big star. I think he's a good-looking kid. He's got flashy moves, and it'll take a really, really good fight to beat him.
And Christopher Diaz, you mentioned, his only other defeat was in a world title fight. So, you know, Dave fancied the job. Speaking to some of the American media, his team were quietly thinking we're going to catch him on the hop.
Couldn't get near him. And he used that amateur style to frustrate him and keep back and almost point victory him, you know, in the early rounds. And then once Diaz slowed, he started stepping up. But they were just constantly stepping on each other's feet. But Diaz was like, I'd never seen it more noticeable. Like, you know, most fighters will do it kind of, you know, slyly or, you know, subtly. But he was just taking one huge step and stepping on his lead foot, you know, and
got him.
But it wasn't until the last round that the referee actually noticed it, you know.
It was so obvious. Like, I know you said, like, you wouldn't make too much of it usually, like, but I just couldn't stop looking at it then.
If you pick up on something like that, you're done for the fight. It's like, no.
Another top prospect, just switching to the other side of the Atlantic, Josh Kelly was in action at the weekend, and coming back off a long layoff, there was a bit of criticism around his performance. A
lot of criticism, yeah. I put out tweets saying like how good it was, and like, I'd say 70% of it was negative towards Josh, you know. The only reason I said that was because at this stage in his progression, this many fights, there's nobody else doing in the ring what he's doing in terms of like completely dominating an undefeated fighter who was a good boxer from Poland. And I can understand the criticism that it's too much flash, it's too much showboat, and I would like to see him box more consistently, but just the things he's able to do in that ring, it is sensational. It's the only way to describe it, you know.
But do you not think that, like, the dancing around, you're just thinking, get on with it, like, you know?
Yeah.
Like, what does Adam Booth think of it? Like, does he not look at him and think, you've so much talent, but you just stop clowning around in there?
Yeah, but it's like, I don't know, those things kind of go hand in hand, you know. I don't know.
It's entertainment, Phil.
It's a persona. It's a
like to be
persona in the
entertained.
ring.
Don't get me wrong,
like
but some of it I just thought was a bit unnecessary.
It's becoming a character. It's like, you know, he's completely the opposite outside the ring. He's so humble and a nice, quiet-spoken guy. But when he's in that ring, he has to be a different person, because if he's humble and quiet in the ring, he'll lose. So, I don't know, I would like to see him stick behind. Like, he did, like, his jab was unbelievable, wasn't that? Was really busted up. Was it Rokowski or Rokowski, yeah. And his combination punches. There's no other word to describe but sensational. But I can understand standing around with your hands like this, looking disinterested and
looking at people outside the ring
doesn't serve him as well. But just something he has to do. But it may be something that as he goes up he'll have to weed out. But to me, he's probably the best prospect in England. You know, you compare him to the other good fighter on the card, Cordina. Like Cordina, that was a really, really good. I might have overlooked him last week because he really impressed me.
That was
Boxed
fantastic.
really well, yeah.
Great
Boxed really, really well. And you'd say a mix of those two would be the perfect style, because he was really consistent, stayed behind his jab, stayed behind his jab, and had, when he got him hurt, Towand, he went for the finish, you know, he finished him, which was really nice. But I don't know, out of the two of them, I would still say that Josh Kelly's by far the better prospect.
Yeah, I enjoyed the performance. Like, you're kind of going, though, once he goes up the levels, you won't be clowning around as much. And I'd say if you mute the commentary, it might be more bearable, because the Sky commentators going to lose a run of themselves sometimes with a classy fighter coming out of the UK who not
He got caught a couple of shots, but they made a big deal. I think that was good to see him actually take a couple of flush shots, because it shows that he has a chin, that he won't be hurt, you know. That he kind of answered another question, even though we haven't seen him take any much punishment. He got caught a couple of clean shots.
You got marked up. Like, I mean, if you're going to call yourself pretty boy, you can't be getting hit as much.
Yeah, but he doesn't. I don't know why he doesn't fight. He does fight. He's actually, you know, he likes to dig in and fight when it comes to it. You know.
It's a lot of it's trying to draw his opponent onto him and hit him with a counter shot, but that'll probably work more as he goes through the levels.
Yeah. I don't know if, like, everybody wants to get a knockout, especially when you're doing what he was doing, like, and he did hurt and drop your man. Was it twice?
Yeah,
early and then the last round as well.
Could have done it in the second. You could have finished him.
But I don't know if you're going to get knockouts when you're punching so wide and your opponent's tucked up like that, you know, because they're bracing themselves. And sometimes with those type of opponents who fight like this, you really have to hit them with a punch they don't see. You kind of have to blind them, you know, and sting them with speed. And then they kind of lose, they get discombobulated and they don't know what's happening, you know. When you're loading up like that, winging hard shots, they don't really have that effect of a knockout.
And the comparison they were keen to draw on Sky was with Hamed, and when he did it, he knew he had a one shot that would just end the fight in the blink of an eye, whereas Kelly doesn't quite have that.
No, but as opponents open up and start actually trying to box him, you will get more knockouts, because when you're fighting somebody so defensive, you're never going to knock him out like that.
We'll be looking at possibly a Rebay Josh Kelly fight down the line. How confusing would that be to call?
Just be positive.
The stylistically changing stances and everybody's like, oh man, this is brilliant. Be like either like the Matrix, or are we just the worst fight ever?
Yeah, we're just posturing at each other for like 5 rounds. Dave Allen, Andy, headline that show. Matchroom sort of social media experiment. He made his name sort of calling out all the big names years ago. Luis Ortiz, most notably, took a bit of a shellacking off him back in the day. But he sort of built himself back into a weird position where he's a marketable guy for them. And Lucas Brown, you know, notwithstanding all the stuff he's done outside the ring and kind of a shady enough career, like, it's still a decent name to have on your record. Like, only Dillian White has beaten Lucas Brown apart.
It's a very good name to have on it. And look, it is what it is. He's at a certain level. The fight was boxed at a certain level, not much above club level, you know. But you have to give him his due. He's in there, he's training, he's fighting, and that's it. Like, I wouldn't deny anybody or begrudge anybody a chance, and it's hard to see where he goes and who he fights and, you know, what's next for him. Maybe you guys would know, but if they want to keep him winning, he's only going to be matched against a certain type of opponent.
But in that platform, Simon, he couldn't have done much more. Like, he slipped left hook to the body, nice finish, everyone went home happy. Like, he's put in that position, he had to deliver, and he did.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, like, it was a competitive fight, you know? And then it got finished with it was a sloppily competitive fight, and they got finished.
You
with
wouldn't have enjoyed 10 rounds of it, though.
No,
like,
absolutely
it's just or a fight.
Yeah, no, we're
so like the fact that it was over after 3 is probably why you enjoyed it.
Quite possibly, actually. Now that you say it like that, yeah, never thought of it like that. Yeah, I mean,
you're relieved to get out of there.
What does he do next? I don't have an answer for you.
Dave Allen's next opponent is Phil's favourite fighter, David Price. It's going to be on July 20th, apparently. That's the rumour. What do you think of that, Phil?
That's interesting.
I'll still watch it. Like.
Yeah, I'll watch that, yeah.
Like, apparently Price was, or it was in Lucas Brown's contract, rather, that he would get the Price fight if he beat Allen. So I think Allen's just going to take that fight, and that's as part of the Dillian White Rivas pay-per-view card.
My God.
Yeah. Why did they make Chisora versus White? That would be a better fight, wouldn't it?
Chisora White again?
Not Dillian White, the White Rhino. Dave Allen.
Yeah, that could be made. I think the winner of Price and Allen probably would get Chisora, but Chisora was hanging out hope for, or David Hay was rather banging the drum for him to get the Joshua step-in date. But
he needed a good performance. He needed a knockout.
Your man Gashi didn't help Mattersfield, did he?
No. Jesus. Let's not talk.
He was like a sparring partner.
He was swiftly on.
Yeah, sweet down the cab.
Yeah, the vacancy I mentioned there obviously came up because of Jarrell Miller's failed test last weekend. Here's the apology of sorts that Miller released in the days which followed.
This is your boy Big Baby Miller here. A lot can be said right now. I'm gonna get straight to the point. I messed up. I made a bad call. A lot of ways to handle a situation, I handle it wrongly, and I'm paying a price for it. I missed out on a big opportunity, and I'm hurting on this side. You know, my heart is bleeding right now. I hurt my family, my friends, my team, my supporters, but I'm going to own up to it. I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to correct it, and I'm going to come back better, and I'm humbled by the experience to understand, you know, how to handle certain things, man, and I'm going to leave it as that. You know, I love you guys, and I appreciate you guys out there, and, you know, fighters, we go through a lot, and I don't want to make it a bad name for ourselves, and it's time to do right.
Miller there apologising for his 3 failed tests. We're recording at the moment. By the end of this, it could be 47 or something. Bit of a farce, Andy, the whole thing.
I know. Well, we had just recorded, wasn't it, last weekend? Like that evening or the next day, it would just come out like, and it was a complete joke, wasn't it? Just getting worse and worse, and every day, and
not even a picogram.
It's a disgrace. Yeah, disgrace, isn't it? It's getting worse, like, you know.
And it was a urine test. He wasn't even trying to, you know, like, I'm not saying they're trying to hide it, but it was so blatantly obvious. Just no excuse, and the apology, he can shove his apology, like.
After the first failed test, Anthony Joshua said, well, at least he's not injecting stuff, you know, like it could be worse. And then the next day, EPO and human growth hormone, which, in fairness to VADA, they're tough to detect if you don't test them within like a couple of days.
I think EPO is a 2-day window.
Yeah, so fair play to VADA, they're actually doing their job.
Yeah.
Mad.
But see, here's the problem. He'll fight again.
This is the problem.
So,
this is the problem boxing has. And
you know, we mentioned Canelo came up there in the pay-per-view, best pay-per-view, or pound for pound, sorry, boxers, and like he failed the test, and then
that was meat, though.
I went to Mexico and I had beef. I didn't fail a drug test.
Look, it's now in this day and age, like there's some sort of irony or hypocrisy, whatever the right way to put it is, about Eddie Hearn, you know, obviously slamming Miller for failing the test, and then that night there's Lucas Brown's fighting on his show. You know, he's promoting him, and he's promoting Miller before who's failed previously, and will probably Povetkin. So to me, and across the board, it's on the promoters now. If the governing bodies aren't going to do it, if the commissions aren't going to do it, and the promoters are getting pushed, like really are as outraged as they say they are about failed tests, they have to stop working with these fighters. They have to blacklist them and say, that's it, you fail a test, we're no longer, that's the end of your contract with me or with anybody else. And there has to be some sort of unified thing, because they're the people who have the control in boxing, the promoters. If they're not going to work with you, then you're not going to get a fight.
It's too much money, though. Like, it's so,
you would like to see there being some sort of like act or statement from one of these big promoters that say, look, from now on, we're all learning as these things develop.
Well, the TV
box, like, this is a relatively new thing in boxing. I would say it's been around for a while, but I think the testing's only catching up, and with boxing, it's becoming an issue now that more and more fighters have been seen to be cheating with drugs. So now I think it would be a real statement if one of the big promoters stepped up and said, look, I know there's been incidents in the past, and we've worked with fighters in the past, but from now on, no more. Now, if you've failed for a drug test in your contract and your relationship with us is finished, that would be a big way forward in the sport of boxing, I think.
That's a lot of money that they're going to have to wave goodbye to.
But there's somebody else who will fill that. And if the boxers know that this is the case, they'll have to stop. Because they're going to give up money, but who wants the money more? Well, I don't know. You know, like, say if it was Canelo, then he would just jump ship to another promotion, I guess. and somebody else would happily promote him. But I think there has to be some sort of stand now.
And VADA, they just report the findings. They have no governance over the sport, so they just tell the commissions that this is what happened, and it's up to the commissions to decide. So there's loopholes aplenty there. They'll fight in Luxembourg or something, or get a Luxembourg license and come back and fight. And there's ways and means around these.
America's a federal country, so if you're banned in Nevada, you just fight in California, and that happens all the time. So yeah, it does either TV networks or, more importantly, the promoters. But promoters are kind of greedy and they don't want to see a fighter going somewhere else, so it would have to be the TV guys go, now, we're not doing this anymore.
Let's turn away all those viewers we were going to get for all that money. That's it. That's money talks.
The capitalist ego.
It's all right. It's all right, trust me.
But it's whatever about other sports, you're sharing the ring with someone who has taken something to get more power, to inflict more damage to you. They're trying to inflict damage to you as it is, but they're actually giving themselves something to inflict even more serious damage, and they're putting your life at risk. It's madness.
Well, Margachito got done for a year for having loaded hand wraps before the Mosley fight. Now that was a solid suspension, but he fought in Mexico, and he gave the camera the whole before,
Just make a joke of it all.
Yeah, so I don't know where we go really, but that would be TV and promoter will be to have to call the shots on that.
And there's plenty of boxers, you just look on Twitter, that are being accused of taking PEDs, and Miller passes the eye test. He's not someone you look at and say that guy's on steroids. And yet, if you dig a little deeper and look at his fighting style, the guy's 300 pounds and he's fighting a ferocious pace for 12 rounds. So
he's got a great engine.
Yeah. So
if he tests positive for a salad, I'd be surprised.
Yeah. So lifetime bans are the only way to really weed this out, but it's just not going to happen. So I don't know what's going to happen with Miller specifically. I wonder will they take each charge separately, maybe give him some sort of jumbo ban.
I'll run concurrently, don't worry.
Yeah, so he's probably looking at a year.
That's the best I'd say we could hope for.
They'll sell it as, I've learnt my lesson, here's the redemption story.
Yeah. And Americans love that kind of crap as well,
I know Anthony Joshua released a video, was quite measured about the whole thing, and took it in stride, which is fair play given the stuff that Miller had been saying about him, that he was taking steroids and stuff about his mother and all this kind of stuff. So he kind of took it in his stride. But Eddie Hearn, I imagine, is furious because he's been building Miller for this position for Anthony Joshua's breakout fight in America, and now they're without an opponent. The front runners at the moment are Hunter, Andy, who he's spoken about in passing in previous episodes, and Andy Ruiz as well seems to be the other front runner. But Hunter, for those who might have missed it when you were describing before, his story, he's quite a remarkable story, how he's got to this position.
Yeah, he's a good kid. From an amateur, he was touted as, he was number one amateur in America as a heavyweight. Not a big heavyweight, but still a heavyweight, and he was touted to be the one. He was in the Klitschko training camp quite a bit, and everyone was impressed with him. Now he was quite small and young then, so he wasn't really competing with Vladimir, but he was putting up, keeping Vladimir honest at least. Then he gets through in against Yusk early in his career. No one kind of knew Usyk at that stage. What do you say, Usyk or Yusk?
Usyk.
You say Yusk.
we know what you're talking about.
Usyk. And then that loss doesn't look that bad now.
No, 117, 110 looks all right.
Yeah, how early was that in his career? Was that his 9th or?
I think it was around that mark.
Fight, something like that. 9 for 11 fight. Then he takes a couple of fights on the road. He built himself back up. He's interesting because he's in his camp is Hasim Rahman, the guy who beat Lennox Lewis. And they're a tight bunch, and I'm sure he's getting great advice from him. And he beat the Scottish Nigerian. Is it Bacoli?
Yeah,
beat Bacoli on the road in York Hall. That was a hell of a performance.
Big upset as well.
Yeah, big upset
with the bookies anyway.
Yeah, and then he beat Ustinov in Monaco. That's another good win. Even though Ustinov's slow, he's been around and he's just kind of below well. So he's a good kid and good fighter. And actually, we talked earlier about the Peterson Khan fight. The man in the black hat, the infamous man.
Oh, yeah.
That guy, the man in the black hat, was in the camp with Michael Hunter. He was kind of managing Michael at the time and looking after him. So that's how I know that guy.
Right.
So it's all...
You mean he's not an official?
It's all tied together.
So it's a weird one because just looking at them, again, the eye test, size-wise, you'd imagine Anthony Joshua's going to bowl this guy over, but he's been training for Miller, who's like a come forward, stand in front of you sort of guy, and then Hunter's this elusive boxer. You know, it could be troublesome for Joshua.
It could be, yeah, it could be, but you just think of the size and the power of Joshua, you know, it's just a different level, isn't it, you know, from Ustinov, from the Bacoli and from those guys. And Joshua is he's improving. He's an improving fighter to me. He's shown in his last, especially against Rebecca, that he can adjust in a fight. So when it doesn't go in his way, that he can make an adjustment. So
he has to put on a show though, and it's his US debut, so they have to.
It will look bad if he comes out him being so big and muscular, like the look of it.
Yeah.
And Hunter's moving around, making him look bad, slick, which he has the ability to do. You know, he's a slipper, and like he'll slip and slide and move around and box off a rhythm. It's just can Hunter maintain that for 12 rounds when he's being put under pressure by such a huge man? That's the thing. That's you know, this is a different level. But
David, how you value that kind of stuff?
Yeah, and the thing is, Josh was not slow like Valuev.
No.
You know, these punches are coming, and they're coming with intent and with speed and with power. But like look, everyone wants that payday. Let's not forget that. Like, they want to fight for the titles, yes they do, but they're going to get well compensated for it, and they're putting themselves on that level. You know, on a world level, like the likes of these contenders who like Hunter, Andy Ruiz, they're putting themselves in that mix then, so they can always, if they lose, they can always fight one of the other guys. They become a legitimate opponent.
Yeah, it's still up in the air. It's expected to be confirmed this week, but those two seem to be...
It'll probably be confirmed after we record, as
I
usual.
heard it was going to be... I heard it might have been Grassiev, the cruiserweight who just signed with Matchroom and was moving up to heavyweight.
Yeah, it'd be a bold one to take in your
Big
first
one,
time, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
A couple of people have turned it down. Lewis Ortiz, I think both parties sort of agreed. Joshua probably didn't want to fight a southpaw at late notice, and Ortiz probably wasn't ready. He's also been promised the winner of Wilder in Brazil, so he's his own thing over with PBC. So, like in an ideal world, Dillian White would have jumped in, but he's got playing his own furrow for July 20th, as we mentioned. One fight that is confirmed for June the 1st is Katie Taylor against Delphine Pursoon, which we've been talking about for a long time, and this is the sort of legacy-defining fight, isn't it, for Katie Taylor?
Yeah, every time she gets a new opponent, we kind of say this is going to be the toughest fight, but genuinely it is going to be her toughest fight.
Yeah. And Pursoon's name has always been in the conversation, even when we're discussing whatever opponent Katie has. She's always been on the horizon as the sort of...
Yeah, and it's part of the, you know, Katie said 2019 is going to be the year that I unify all the belts, and this is her chance to do it. And then obviously Serrano is the one they want later in the year, so it's all coming along, and I mean, she's going to win. So like, it's not going to be as easy as some of the other fights, but I'm still pretty confident Katie Taylor is going to be holding all 4 belts by the 1st of June.
It's the first one where you kind of have to hold your breath a little bit, though. It's not the rest of them. Even the unifications were relative. She was a huge favourite, I should say, whereas this one, there's an element of doubt. Like, Pursoon hasn't lost in 9 years.
Well, it's her toughest fight to date, I think. But like, Pursoon has a chance to unify. Like, all the promotion of her has been Katie Taylor's chance to unify the division. Pursoon has the chance to unify the division as well. So this is her career defining by her. You know,
The thing is with Katie that no one's ever going to outbox her, and the only hope they have is that they can draw her into a tough fight. But when you have 2-minute rounds, it's very hard to build that momentum and to drag them deep into the water. So by round 9, you're almost out of there, and there's only 2 minutes to go. You know, it's not
her toughest fight so far has been the McCaskill.
Yeah, me too.
It was ugly.
I think so, yeah.
It was an ugly fight, and that's exactly what happened. She got dragged into
that. Was in your call.
Yeah.
And it was a tight environment, like tight atmosphere. Everyone was in there. It's really hot, you know, and it's like you'd want to be, like, you're in the crowd and you're watching the fight there. You want to, like, you feel like I want to get in there and have a fight myself, you know. It's that kind of an atmosphere. It's just, there's kind of blood in the air, whatever it is. So, I think she's going to be good. I think it'll probably be a career best performance. You know, she's been back in Connecticut pretty soon after the Vellante fight, and you just were the fear that she has, that she doesn't manage her taper, that she peaks too soon, and that she overtrains. You know, that she's not right. But if she's right, there's no one to beat her.
You'd be expecting an atmosphere similar to the Olympic final as well. I'd say she'd get a very good turnout from the Irish fans. Yeah.
You mentioned McCaskill there, Phil. She's actually got her own fight now, and Nahi Sanchez, who Katie also beat.
Oh, yeah.
They're fighting each other. they're in a title fight. So it just shows Katie's sort of star-making performance. McCaskill in a losing effort still sort of made her name, got in with Matchroom and kind of shooting for the stars now. Another Irish fighter trying to make it into that unified, that sort of elite club of Irish unified world champions. TJ Doheny fights on Friday at the LA Forum against Danny Roman. It's a really good fight. Like
Doheny. Your man pronounced it. Teddy Atlas.
TJ Doheny.
It's a really good matchup.
It's a great fight. Yeah, great fight.
Both can box and both like to get stuck in as well, so it's going to be fought at close range.
Fair play to TJ, like, no one would have batted an eyelid had he taken a couple of soft defences, and like built on and made a few quid. Like, he's stepping into the lion's den in this one, He's stepping in with a real fight.
He said this is what world champions should be trying to do.
That's
on the best.
My attitude and anybody's attitude.
He's 32 as well. Yeah. If he wins, like, he goes up to the next level and he gets even bigger fights. He might even go up a weight.
He's got a good chance too. Depends like how they match up, how the styles gel. Romain he's a Latino fighter with a typical rhythm, but he can punch and he can box a bit, and he's quite clever too. He's clever. He'll slip and punch at the same time, and he'll meet your punches. Like, TJ is a good southpaw and he's a bit of a puncher. Always had a good fight, and TJ looks like the bigger man to me. It'd be interesting to see how they match up together, but TJ looks like the bigger man.
And Roman, like, his combinations are, you couldn't say he has a go-to combination. It seems to be like, I saw him one time he threw 2 left hooks in a row, or 2 left uppercuts in a row.
Yeah, he has it. He has it all. He's a class operator.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great fight. Really good fight.
He has 2 losses, but they were very early, and like we spoke about Tevin Farmer, and he's another example of building a career and becoming and improving as you go on.
And he knuckled down after he probably wasn't dedicating himself fully. He was released by his manager, then rededicated himself to boxing and got picked up by the same promoter again, and they've hit the skids down. So
that's a redemption story,
And TJ similarly, like much like Dennis Hogan, the talent was always there. He beat Carl Frampton in the amateurs. Came up short against John Joe Nevin, like most people did back then. Went to Australia, loved the party life in Australia, and then knuckled down and like turned pro at 25 and won a world title last year.
Fantastic, yeah.
Prediction?
I think TJ could do it, yeah.
I'm gonna go with TJ, yeah.
I'm not backing against an Irishman, never.
How did last week's predictions go?
In that case, I think TJ got it done as well. Yeah.
I don't think it's plain sailing. I think I think this is like
you'd make Roman favourite, but I think TJ could do it.
It's in Roman's backyard as well, so
TJ has a chance, but he's definitely an underdog going in here. Like, let's not get carried away. Just speaking of John Joe Nevin, I spoke to him yesterday on the phone, and he's got a club now in Mullingar. He's got his own amateur gym, and he's got a few kids fighting Saturday down the stadium in the boys' championship. So he's doing well, bringing on the next generation.
Great,
good teacher.
Yeah, and Jimmy McLaren was the last Irish world champion to win a world title without ever having fought in Ireland as a pro. And TJ's making sounds that he wants to fight in Moore Park if he can get the win, which would be a great occasion.
That's if the GAA allow it.
Oh, well, yeah.
How they changed that rule?
Did they?
Stadiums can now decide themselves, or county councils. I don't know. I think they've changed it.
Yeah, we'll watch that one.
Just elsewhere on the card in LA, Jesse Vargas returns. He's looking to be a 3-weight world champion or build his way towards it. So be interesting to see how he gets on. Topping that bill is Sarung Vasai against Estrada, Andy, which was a Fight of the Year contender last year. So hopefully round 13 this time.
Yeah, there'll be no other way they can fight. Them guys are just going to go at it. Because that's all they know, isn't it? But yeah.
Are we not expecting a Santa Cruz from one of them? Change completely?
I don't see it.
Yeah,
I don't see it. It's a matter of pride with those guys. If they take a step back, it's like there seems to be it's a weakness and you're giving up something, so they'll only go one way forward.
It's great. That's a super card, actually. Yeah.
It's Friday as well.
It's on Friday. It's actually a busy weekend. We've got in Carol Relic against Regis Prograis for the junior welterweight title. We've got Tete against Donaire.
Interesting fight.
In the Super Series as well, which the Super Series has been picked up by Sky Sports, which is a big bonus and could be a star-making decision for Josh Taylor once he gets a shot, because like the talent's obviously there, he just needs the platform, doesn't he?
Yeah, and it's great because these fights should be on Sky Sports. Like, where else are you going to get to watch these like world-class fights? You know what I mean? And they should be.
Well, you should also mention BT, Andy. You're working for them at the weekend.
BT or Sky, I know, but see, Yeah, you got me. Thank you very much.
By the way, like the night you were looking out for Jason Quigley saying, "Get off your phone there, Jason." Yeah. We're looking out.
We're going to edit this out.
Hitting Andy with a body shot. Sorry, Andy, you were saying?
Yeah. No, it's good. It's great to see these fights being televised and that the Super Series can pick up and hopefully keep its momentum.
Yeah, I think it was struggling there for a little bit. And
badly.
And it looked like the whole thing was going to fall apart. So Sky, fair play for stepping in and getting these fights over the line.
And needless to say, the Hearns and the McGuigans don't have the best relationship, so they're going to be working together again. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. In Showtime, Robert Easter against Francis Bartholomew as well for the WBA lightweight title. Speaking of Showtime, a weird anniversary that I picked up there, that it's 10 years since Carl Froch stopped Jermaine Taylor in the 12th round. It's probably my favourite 12th round finish. Just unbelievable. Froch was down on the cards and turned it around his first fight on foreign soil with the title. So it's actually made by the commentary, which is one of the lesser known commentary clips I'd say. We might play out at the end of this episode, but I put it out on Twitter to see what everyone's favourite final round was in fights, and I was getting a lot of Andy Lee against Craig McEwen.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Did you enjoy that one?
I look back on it fondly, yeah. I do, yeah.
Anything spring to mind, Phil, apart from Wilder against Fury?
Wilder and Fury is hard to top because just the way, like, and even just after it happened as well, all the funny videos of Tyson Fury rising like the Undertaker, and like the Taylor one and Froch is class. Like,
we will play it with the commentary because it never gets played anywhere, and it's actually fantastic stuff. And I think Gus Johnson is out of work at the moment, so Gus, we're looking out for you there. And you chimed in with
Rafael Vasquez, Israel Marquez, third fight, 12th round. That's the best 12th round of all time. They were one win each, and the first two fights, both stoppage wins. Going into the last round, Vasquez needed a 10-9 to get a split draw, and then he knocks Marquez down with like 13 seconds to go. Marquez gets up and then he wins, and it was the perfect ending to the trilogy, even though they went in for it a fourth time. But if you're looking for a 12th round drama with all that on the line, Vasquez Marquez 3.
Any 12th round, 15th round, final round drama?
I can't think of any now. I can't think of any other than the ones you said.
Like, you were at the Fury one, so
I was at the Fury one. That was pretty good. Yeah, I thought he was there. I thought he was gone.
That clip of Mike Costello doing the commentary and you're just in the background sort of like...
I couldn't say. He speaks during
No, but you were kind of like up and down.
It's good.
Yeah, so,
good night.
So next week we'll be back with reaction to TJ hopefully unifying the belts, and we'll look ahead to Canelo against Jacobs. Are you excited for that one, Andy?
I am. Yeah, it's gone under the radar a little bit. It hasn't. I don't know. It's kind of, we're all aware of it.
Yeah, it's just kind of
social media. It's going, but it's not like there hasn't been a big build-up. I don't know if it's been a big build-up. Maybe we're just out of the loop over here. But
what platform is it on for us?
Sky Sports
and the Zone.
The regular Sky Sports.
Yeah,
huge,
mad.
Yeah, but I can't wait for that fight. It's probably the fight of the year so far.
Yeah, in terms of the matchup.
So we'll do a tactical breakdown of that one next week. We might get Andy out here doing something.
Me and Phil, yeah. And I get him back.
He's probably going to go to the body a lot.
You'll nominate Phil.
Am I Canelo, am I?
You can be Canelo.
I'm just stand there with a beef burrito in my hand.
Good stuff. Well, thanks, lads.
Thanks, lads.
And thanks to producer Tom as well. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. We'll chat to you next week.